It's 6:30, Madam Mayor.
I've got 6:30 on my watch. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to our first budget deliberation meeting. Bienvenue à notre première réunion budgétaire. We respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered here on the homelands of the Anishinaabe people, on the traditional territory of the Nipissing, Temagami, and Doki's First Nation. Covered by Robinson-Huron Treaty, we honor and recognize their historic connection to the land and value their significant contributions in shaping and strengthening our communities. We are grateful to be gathered here today. Nous soulignons respectueusement que nous sommes réunis sur le territoire désigné dans le traité Robinson-Huron, territoire traditionnel du peuple Anishinaabe et particulièrement des Premières Nations Nipissing, Temagami et Dokis. Nous honorons leur lien historique avec cet endroit et nous apprécions leur contribution significative à nos communautés. Nous sommes reconnaissants d'être réunis ici aujourd'hui. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Aucune déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire? None? Is there a mover and a seconder for adopting the agenda? Councillor Chris. Conseiller Yvon.
It is moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Be it resolved that the agenda for the budget meeting of council held on March the 2nd, 2022 be adopted.
Sorry, I believe you may be on mute.
Nope.
There's no sound.
Can anyone else hear me?
Can hear you slightly.
I hear you perfectly. It must be the computer that they're listening to. You need to adjust your volume, Madam Mayor. I hear perfectly.
Sorry, it could be the sound here that wasn't up enough. Is the sound working now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, my apologies. It could have been here.
Did you want me to reread the resolution?
Test. Is that good?
You're good.
You know what, Councillor Chris, I heard it, I think 3 or 4 times. It's good.
Well, I'll just reread. It's moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Be it resolved that the agenda for the budget meeting of council held on March the 2nd, 2022 be adopted as presented.
Are there any objections? Aucune objection? Hearing none, carried, adopté. What we have this evening is the 2022 budget presentation, la présentation budgétaire planée 2022. And what I'll do for the budget process is I'll provide it to the Chair of General Government to lead the process pertaining to budget for this year. You are on mute, Councillor Lise.
I said, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So obviously there's only one thing to the agenda, which is a 2022 budget presentation. I think before we start, I would like to see and ask our CEO that, or I think, and Councillor, obviously, how we proceed before we start to put guidelines so we don't go and all over the place. So how do we proceed with that? Like tonight, I'm going to tell you what I think it was. Tonight was the presentation of that first document. That's the first thing. That was the presentation of that. Then we go away and we look at it. And then the next time we start with the department. Am I wrong, Mr. CEO?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So how do
this year, as I indicated indicated in my cover letter, is I'm presenting a more concise approach to the budget process for a variety of reasons. Some that should be stated and some probably not. What we want to do is get to an achievable objective as quickly as possible without eliminating any key questions. But I think it comes down to having a discussion with respect to a solution that we have before you. Any questions you have on that documentation? Yes. I think in my email or my memo that you would have received last Friday, you were asked to formulate your questions and have them ready. I don't know if you are. Hopefully you are.
Well,
I'm not
sorry,
finished.
Jay. Sorry, Mr. Barbeau.
Thank you. So it's a different process. It's a process that basically takes into consideration what we have here, what works, what doesn't. In past years, it had gone fairly well, but not with this term. I'd be presenting a gross amount and working it through. And then at the end of this budget process, after you spin 15 ways from Sunday, you end up asking me what I can get it down to. And so what I've done is I've just skipped a few steps and I've got it down to an amount where there should be very little discussion. I mean, there's, I'm not trying to stifle discussion, but if you've got a tax increase amount, we've gotten this increase to a very reasonable amount. There might be some wiggle room. And we, for that increase, we have made some assumptions and we are carrying out some work, which are material changes in operations or the key changes, as you can see. What I've indicated is there really isn't an advantage, and I don't believe it's council's role. I know it's not council's role. To start wondering about line items and so on. You could ask the question as to how many pencils Sean Remillard has, but I don't believe that it's the best use of strategic time for council. So what I propose to do tonight is to go through presentation in the document, as you indicated, at a high level basis. And entertain questions, and the questions will go through me. And if I can't answer them, I will direct or request of my staff assistance. And at that point, if we can come to some sort of agreement, then by I'm not sure you'll get to an agreement, but then when we get to after break, it's my intention to present this year's capital so that we can at least try and carve off and get some tenders out in a reasonable amount of time to do some business this year. So that is my intention. My intention is to show you an overview of what happened last year, an overview of this year, given last year, what we planned on doing this year, and then capital, or what we're planning on, what the key changes are to last year's budget, and then capital. Lisa, is there anything else that I'm missing here?
No, you've hit it bang on, Mr. Barbeau.
Thank you. Oh, sorry about calling you by your first name. I have a certain familiarity from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m, so I apologize. So if there's any questions or if there's any comments or debates by council, if they're not in favor of that, I'd be happy to listen, or I'd be happy to take any changes that you recommend.
Okay, I'm going to go around, and before I go around, just want to make a comment about pen and pencil. I don't think that's our goal to try to know that. I don't recall anybody asking about pen and pencil. It's amount, but I don't think I'll do that tonight again. So I won't be bothered to ask that. No. So I'll go around, ask what you think, Conseiller Duhaime.
Well, quite frankly, I'm looking at it and I think, yeah, let's try this and proceed with what we have and see how it works out. I hope it works out much better. Thank you.
Okay, Conseiller Fisher. Conseil Fisher, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, I think this it sounds like a good process. The only thing that I would ask, there are a lot of very big line items and due to collective agreements and this, that, and the other, and we can't touch them. And I think we do spend a lot of time. There are certain funds there that are sort of let's call them discretionary, and perhaps not tonight, but maybe we could get if everybody agrees, sort of a report on what those discretionary funds are, because though we got a huge budget, but to my mind, we tend to battle over a few dollars, and it would be interesting to see what those few dollars are, whether they're paying rent for a good cause and this, that, and the other. So discretionary dollars, I'd like to see the stuff that we actually battle over, and dollars for communities and this, that, and the other, and the big picture stuff. For the most part, I trust that. Thank you.
Thank you,
As I
Conseiller
indicated,
Fisher. Whoops.
that's okay.
Monsieur
Sorry.
Barbeau?
Just stating, as I indicated, perhaps if you have some of those individual things, as I asked in my email on Friday or my memo on Friday, if you can provide that, send it to us as a group email, CC Council, and so that it's on the record with all of us, we can produce that financial report. Thanks.
Okay, now Conseiller Larrabee. Where are you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in favor of what CEO was the way that it's moving forward. His way of presenting things. I think that hopefully it'll speed up the process, and we'll be able to get the contractors on time, so we could be on their number one list instead of having to wait for them. So perfect. Let's move on. I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Conseiller Mallette?
Yeah, I'm the same frame of thought, Madam Chair. What the CEO is proposing, I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay, Monsieur Conseiller Revito?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a proven method of doing business. There's other municipalities that use this approach, and other organizations which I sit on, such as DSAP and Health Unit, and probably the Chateau does the same process. It eliminates fighting over, and I'll say pens and pencils, and it gets us into a mindset that the people that are working, specifically the people that are working for us, have a good pulse of what they're doing, and we have to put a little bit of faith in what they're going to present us.
Conseiller Denis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think looks like an easy process to me, and I like it. Just to make clear that we can ask questions as we go along, and I don't see any issues, so I'm ready to move forward.
Madame Savage? Madame la Mairesse, je veux dire?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it's quite clear, the overview, and then proceeding with capital. I've always, in the last couple of years, have been advocating that capital should be treated before we treat operations. So at least have a baseline of what we agreed to. So as it was stated, that projects can be dealt with as quickly as possible. I just want to highlight that the fact of asking questions is being able to comprehend the information that's being provided to us, because at the end of the day, as representatives to the public, we're also responsible to the taxpayers. And if you want to understand the budget, well, I don't want questions to be perceived that it's not because of lack of trust to staff. It's as an individual elected official, there's also a commitment to the taxpayers that gave us this privilege to be their voice at the table.
Anything else, Madam Mayor?
No, that's it.
Hey, I do make my comment before we start. I do like the way that it's presented. I'll repeat it. I never question staff ability to present things in a good way. But I will also say that I will ask question, and I won't ask about pen and pencil. I will ask for a report for the OPP, complete and town. I will do what Mr. Barbeau asked in his email to send a request. I will do that tomorrow morning. Hopefully it seemed very clear. 2.7, it seemed a very, very, very good start. But like you said, there might be a place to tweet it, because we did also, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have a surplus. So, but we'll get there when it's time. But I like the way that we intend to proceed, and I hope we're going to stick to that, to proceed, because as being all over the place, we had a comment that it was a very hard painful 11 days last year meeting. And if I would know that guy, I would call him and I would say, you know what, can you imagine you were not even sitting at the table? So how painful it was last year. So I don't know where he's getting that painfulness, but feel sad for him. Enough of us, we have to go through it, right? So I will start, and as Jay indicated, then again, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to lead as Monsieur Barbeau indicated, we're the one that's going to direct, who's going to make the presentation? You or Madame Corporate Service?
I am.
Okay.
So as Chief Administrative Officer, as you know, through that late term presentation we had, I am the chief employee of council, and the staff and all of the operations and everybody who are carried out or tasked to provide services to our residents report either directly or indirectly to me. And so I will hopefully be able to facilitate this so that we can move fairly quickly and get the information we have. So if that was a question and I responded to it, would you like me to just start now, Madam Chair?
Yes, if you can, Mr. Barbeau.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just, okay, no, I think it's irrelevant. I was just going to ask a question
Well, you can.
before we start. I'm just looking at who are the participants to this meeting. Like I see 13, but when I count the number of people on the screen.
Okay, I can, if you want, Mr. Barbeau. There's Monsieur Remillard, there's Monsieur Poulain, there's Monsieur Barado, there's Madame Clerk, and Madame Corporate Service, and I think that's Monsieur
it?
Barbeau. Yeah,
Oh,
and
no.
Monsieur.
Okay,
Well, us, we know where there
just
is.
want to say hi to everyone.
Okay, go ahead, go, Monsieur Barbeau.
All right. Well, you have the package that was provided to you, and you look at, I'll start off by saying, for a variety of reasons, forget the governance in this term, but COVID and how we interact, how we operate, the funds that we have available and all of that do not make them consistent years. And they're, so I guess I'll start off by commending the staff, the mid managers, the rank and file workers, especially who are carrying out some services in some really, really strenuous times. Certainly, we don't get the props that the healthcare workers do or the long-term care workers do, but I certainly give props to the folks. I also give props to the managers here in the amount of work that these budgets and these documents take. What you see is an encapsulation of a lot of line items, a lot of spreadsheets that really only excite Ms. Craddock and one or two of her staff. The rest of us with spreadsheets, we tolerate them. So I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank Commission's team as well. They seem to be able to figure out what these crazy staff members are trying to think or convey, and then they are able to package it in a way that makes us all look good. And so I want to thank every one of you for doing that and for your patience with me while I tried to get to this point. Highlights for 2021. It starts off with COVID. That's not a normal service offering that we have, and so we have, it took a lot of our time, and it's frustrating. Everybody, the whole world is frustrated now. But for us, it's built, that frustration is built up a little bit because, people in community services, do we open a rink? Do we close the rink? Do we test? Do we hire screeners? It's a weird time. In addition to getting a bridge done, getting all of this done, they had this extra weight of COVID. So it was a weird time. And because of that, and the revenues are different, and expenditures are slightly different as well. So we partnered with the assessment center. So the Marcel Noël Center was fully operational right up until November. Obviously PPE and cleaning and the enhanced cleaning and everything like that, is additional work for the community services staff. Recently we had screeners for the passports, the vaccine mandates. And so we hired screeners, and that again was another headache to Marc Ayotte to make sure people are all there, and kudos to Mark. It also impacted how we operated and what we could do and couldn't do, such as training. And so we're still probably looking at catching up on on very important training that we need for both health and safety, efficiency, and continuous improvement. Corporate services, as you see,
Monsieur Barbeau, excuse me, can we when you go, like you went COVID, would it be easy to go around and see if they have specific question about that, and that will be done with?
You want?
Okay,
Sure.
so I'm going to start with Mr. Dime.
Thank you.
Do you have any question, Mr. Dime?
No, thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
No, please don't call. Okay. No question?
No,
Hey, Monsieur Fisher, any question?
Yeah, sure. So
Madam- Sorry.
I don't know if it's more a question or a comment, but I will say it. So training has been in a very strange place for a number of years, and I know good organizations in regular times. You have learning organizations, and training is so important. But I think, I can think to the fire department especially, and training has been so difficult, and probably a lot of areas have fallen behind. And I believe we tried to keep the training dollars level while COVID was going on. Like I know we tried that, but do we expect? Do we expect to have to put more dollars in training now that hopefully the world becomes a little more like the world we're used to? Thank you.
What we know now and what we have, you will see in your budgets, is monies advanced for the training that we need operationally now. And so we have covered what we do. Now, in more stable times, and I'll let people smarter than me define stable, we will probably be looking at where we want to be in 5-10 years, and what's the evolution of municipal expertise, and where do we want to go to keep up with the rest of the world. And we'll be looking at that. And at that time, strategically, we would look at succession planning. We would look at a lot of HR matters that we're actually looking at now, but this budget reflects the training that we need. Can I make a suggestion, Madam Chair, is instead of going one at a time, if you could just ask, are there any questions? And then there might be only one or two, and we wouldn't have to just
okay, it's because I feel very able to control when I do that like that this way, and I understand that, but it can go fast. I can't. Yeah, no, I do. I don't mind trying it, but if people are talking at the same time, I'll go back to that. Okay. So then, anybody else have question? Monsieur Sénécal, conseiller Sénécal.
It's not a question, it's more of a comment, and I'm reading that our employees are training other employees, and I'm an advocate for that. I think that's a good idea to train a trainer. That's a good. I think we had discussed it that last budget, but I think we should put more emphasis on train the trainer and do our in-house training. So I'm just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so that you're aware, we do that mostly where we can, where there's very specialized training, and it wouldn't be cost effective. Then obviously we need to contract that out.
Okay,
Okay,
other
so
question?
Any other questions?
Oops, you're not finished,
Mhm.
Mr. Barbeau?
Just,
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Madam Mayor?
with the training, does that incorporate also conferences? Because I know probably staff has not been able to attend many conferences in the last 2 years, like due to COVID. So with what's being presented in the budget, is it some type, like Councillor Chris was saying, normalcy, where staff are going to be able to get back to what's going to become available?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Elise or Madam Corporate Services, if you don't mind, my own staff, I'll refer to them as, but Elisa, we have factored in all of the training and conference needs in our budget, correct?
Conferences is part of the training. And like everything else, some of the conferences, as you know, council did last year, some of the conferences have moved to a virtual platform and been able to continue, but certainly, yes, we have taken that into consideration for for 2022 as far as the conference needs along with the training needs.
Thank you. Any further question? I just have a comment that saying that, yes, it's been the last couple of years because of COVID, obviously put a lot of strain on staff and everybody for that matter. And the world is going more and more. It's time that it finished because something
Right.
else going to happen. And I mean, we should have another concern right now because we don't know what it's going to do for the economy with that war that's going on right now, that it's not getting better. So that could be effect, but we don't, COVID might go and we're always going to have to face some challenge, I guess.
Right.
So, Mr. Babu, would you go to the next one, corporate services?
Sure. So, and you could be probably following along with a page or two down the line because you would have the numbers there probably, or in your workbook. But supplementals exceeded the budget, and so what supplementals are is additional tax due to construction, and so that's a positive, and so that is also revenue that wasn't factored in, and so there were that's kudos to Steph's crew. And the economy in general seems to be favoring us with respect to construction, but that's what that is. Our interest and penalties exceeded budget. That could be perceived in a variety of ways. So I'll ask Lisa to why that would be. Are we in more arrears?
So it actually probably has a lot to do just with challenges that we had with staffing, and that we were in and out of a tax collector throughout the year. So let receivables slide a little bit more than we should have. Now that we're back on track, we've got folks back in there, and once you sort of knock on people's doors, they get caught up. So I'm not concerned about our receivables level. It was mostly just an internal issue that led to this.
POA revenue has been declining. POA is Provincial Offences Act revenue. The provincial government downloaded that to us in about the late 90s. We sit on a task team. Back in the day, it was fairly advantageous to us or lucrative to us. We would collect about $120,000 a year, our share of the Nipissing District net revenues from POA. That is down to almost costing us now. And so it wouldn't be a budget discussion, but all of these, because it won't affect the budget, these are hard numbers. But, there is some strategic discussions that we're having at the CAO level. And obviously we're going to bring it to council about potentially giving that back to the province or new structures or what have you, but we are looking at that. Variances throughout the year, timing and hiring of personnel. Personnel was off on COVID, not when we hired folks, when we didn't. So that created it created some room on the negative. We have our insurance claims and our legal expenses have been somewhat higher than anticipated. And so that number is there and clear. We'll get into it. And we are not writing off taxation as much. So this is expected in a year without an impact reassessment, as she's indicating. Are there any questions? Maybe it's better if I just do it this way. No? So Public Works.
Okay, I
Okay.
do. I got
Okay.
any question from the councillor or the mayor?
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Is it possible to find out supplementally, it's the extra taxes, the new constructions, new build with impact? When are we capturing this new tax now, like for construction dating back to, is it a specific year or is it based on occupancy permit? Just to have an idea, because I know a lot of people think like.
It's all of the
okay.
above.
All
It
of
is
the
from the
above?
time. Well, it's the time from the time of occupancy, but MPAC catches it as soon as they can, and they don't go back more than 3 years.
Okay.
So we basically try and capture those new builds and those new constructions. So they're anywhere from 3 years to current. Where they are on the current scale, Elisa might be able to speak to that.
The MPAC has improved tremendously from those days when we were lagging 3 years and always on top of them. During COVID, they did get behind a little bit because they weren't doing inspections the same way. However, they updated their system and we are picking up stuff in the same year now with new builds. It's a really good system between our department in building and planning and MPAC.
Okay, so that's great.
Good.
So it's good to, it would be a fair statement to say that it's pretty current.
It's pretty correct, yes.
Okay, perfect. And in corporate services, I know that 2021, we had a variety of tax sales. And like with real estate, real estate has boomed as far as, what's being sold out there on the market. So is there going to be a location where we're going to be able to find out or a report pertaining to all those tax sales? Because I know like we have the school and field, we had other locations that went up for tax sales. And I don't know what kind of revenue or money that it brought forward in the coffer for the municipality.
We'll take all of those questions under advisement and submit a report back. But you did make a point, which I just want to clarify. The market value of the houses for tax sales don't really come into play. They really are gauged on what the value of the arrear is. So the 3 years tax arrear plus all of the costs form a minimum bid. And then after that, people bid. But certainly some of the values of the properties, if they would have been sold in the fair market, would have gone for a lot more than that.
Okay, but I guess
Okay,
it's because
moving. Okay,
if I can just state one thing, is because those tax sales, some of them we had them on our books for many, many years, and now I'm assuming that they're going to be write-offs because we're not carrying those no more. Is that correct?
Monsieur Barbeau? I think is,
I think he's frozen.
yeah.
I
Yes,
can give you a
Fisher,
quick
Councillor
answer.
Fisher, I
Oh.
know you're next. I know you're next, Councillor Fisher. Okay, Monsieur Barbeau, did you hear the question?
No, I guess we're having a storm and I'm buffering. So I just cut out and cut back in there. So what was the question?
It was question comment. I brought up the issue because I know some of the properties, we had them on our books for many years that we were carrying.
Right.
Now they're going to be off our books if we were successful in selling them. So that's why I was asking also to have an overview of those. That'd be appreciated.
All right. Any other questions?
Monsieur Fisher have a question?
Yeah, so I just this is stuff I should probably know, but it's probably good maybe if Director of Corporate Services. So impact reassessments, during COVID, I know one was missed, and I know they do a massive reassessment at some point in time, and I just don't know where impact sits right now or what's going on. I just wonder if somebody could give us a very quick overview of where impact's at and when we expect that to happen again and that kind of thing. Thank you.
Well, not really. Okay, part of the budget, but Elise, impacts kicking in next year, or is it?
Yes, the assessments will come out this year and come in next year. And certainly because I'm really happy to pass the buck on this one. I can certainly talk to our MPAC rep when the assessments come out or coming and doing a presentation to council. They've done that before, and just walk council through how the assessments work, and I'll let him take the heat.
Thank you very much. I have a question about the line vacancy through the year. Like, if you were not able to hire staff, obviously the money remained in the budget for this year. If you were not able to fulfill
So you were cutting out for me.
Okay, so you didn't hear what I said?
You had a question about something, and I heard vacant something, but that was
Okay,
it.
like it's regarding the vacancy throughout the year and timing of hiring. So I'm thinking that if you were not able to hire, as a position was supposed to happen, that the money is still in the budget for next year. It's still budgeted like it was, so it's not lost and it's not okay. And the last question,
No,
a couple My God, it's hard to.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no, but it's hard to hear you, Mr. Barbeau. Insurance claim, you did talk about that for a while ago. I was just curious because you said we have a lot, and I don't want to know how much. It's not what I'm asking, but if there's a lot and if people are waiting, how do you pay for it? How do we pay for it? Is it somewhere in the line, or we're covered by the insurance? You understand my question? Like if somebody suing us, the municipality, because they fell on the sidewalk and they won their case.
Right.
Okay, so what?
We have a $25,000. Is it 25 or 15 on liability and 25 on property? So our deductible is limited. Our liability at the municipal level is limited liability. There's certain lawsuits that we wouldn't be covered for, but as a general rule, that's what I would say.
Okay, and yeah, that's about it. So public work now.
Well, public, pretty standard operating organization. They did a lot of change last year with respect to staffing that seem to be enhancing their ability to be efficient and effective. So there's not much change this year. So the vacancies that you did approve this time last year were filled about 2/3 or 3/4 into the year. And so there's some savings in the public works budget that basically makes up the savings that go into the reserves that I'll be talking about. Winter materials were lower than usual, but that's just, that could be higher, could be lower. It's just where your inventory is and what you needed and how much you needed to use it. It's not more difficult than that. Community services is an interesting one, and that was sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I just want to see if anybody have a question about what you just said. No, Monsieur Duhaime have a question.
I just wanted to point out that, as Jay mentioned, that if it was efficient as much as it could be, being that we had to, the manager had to deal with a lot of vacancies with respect to workers being sick because of COVID. And it did have an impact with service, and although not really noticeable, but it did. And it was beyond his service that he could do. And it was just because of COVID again. So congratulations to Public Works.
Yeah, and I would say that's true all over the board, and probably more true with Omicron. So the more recent COVID is, and the way testing and the way you're automatically forced to stay home 5 days and so on, that continues. That continues to be a scheduling challenge for our staff, and they're doing a super job. Either Sean or Mr. Remiard is frozen, or he really takes a long drink. Anyway. So the winter materials, I indicated. I was about to send a shout out to community services as well, because they are kind of the quasi business. They have to, they have to service different schedules, different user groups, different buildings, different tenancies. It's very
Where are you
hard
now,
for them
Monsieur
to.
Barbeau? Monsieur Barbeau, which section?
I'm under
Because-
community service.
Okay, because I don't know, any other question about public work? Okay, because I didn't, you're fast. You're doing good,
Madam Chair,
Mr. Barbeau,
I would
you're
have-
fast.
Right, and I hope to be faster. But what I want is, if there is a question, or if you raise your hand, I can see you, and I can respond and say okay. But I knew to move on because there wasn't any activity. Again, community services. I'll skip
May
that
I
speech,
just
and
say
I'll just say
something,
that,
Mr. Barbeau, if you want to chair the meeting, you can, but I think it's my job. I don't mind if you want to, but I mean, this is, I think,
you
again,
can
we
chair
cut
the
it pretty
meeting.
fast. I mean, we still need time to breathe, like, so you can community service.
Yeah, and I'm just if you want me to help you facilitate through it without, it can go a lot faster, and I think that's the point. But if you want to continue the way you're doing it, that's fine. I'm totally at your service. So community services had the benefit of COVID funding relief, and so that helped offset their deficits in the revenues. The marina actually still had a strong year. Underspent wages because museum positions, the timing of hiring, you're going to hear that throughout. Significant savings in utilities and seasonal variation, the shutdowns of arenas and so forth has assisted there. And they were able to do some additional work and maintain their buildings due to the shutdowns, which is good. Expenditure under community initiatives, things council agrees to write off because there were not many events run by partners. So we're basically, we didn't have a lot of community initiatives, I guess, is the point we're making. Mr. Pooling?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Barbeau.
Can I
Okay, well, I don't see the, I don't see your,
sorry.
yeah, okay, so
Okay,
Madam
sorry.
Mayor?
Just before proceeding, I'm not too sure. Did we lose a counselor throughout the proceedings? Like, I don't see Counselor Chris.
Yeah, he's at the, well, he's at the bottom, he's there.
Okay, I see him now. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Fisher, are you saying something? Okay,
So fire.
Yeah.
The savings in wages to their volunteer or part-time line item, that's kind of a variable cost based on activity. And so that basically the fire year season was slightly lighter, but as indicated, we budget for averages, and hopefully we don't ever have to use them, because what's tied to those expenses are serious activities. Savings and benefits go along with that. Transition and training from fire college to new fire so that has nothing to do with COVID. Back in Gravenhurst, between Gravenhurst and Bracebridge, there used to be a big fire college, and that used to give us the opportunity to get a lot of that specialized officer training. That fire college has been closed down, so now chiefs are trying to find it. They're packaging Northern Ontario training and so on and so forth. So they're doing that because there's a greater difficulty now in the fire department to get that training. There's new requirements in fleet maintenance. Age of tires have to be will still be rolled across the entire fleet, and the underspent in facility maintenance, which, again, probably due to the availability and the ability to get it done last year was kind of tough. But Elisa, do you have any comments, or Chief, do you have any comments to add to what I just said?
Mr. Marando?
Good evening, through you, Jay. Yes, I guess the facilities, geez, my picture just went on.
Yeah.
It's fine by me.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll keep on going anyways. Yeah, facility maintenance is just because we had a hard time getting contractors availability. See, we're still planning on finishing the levying station as soon as possible. But due to availability of contractor, we're still on the back burner. But we're looking at working on quite a few fire halls to bring them back to snuff.
Any other question, Monsieur Conseiller Sénécal? Conseiller Christopher? After?
Oh, yeah,
No,
Conseiller
Conseiller Sénécal first and you after.
Madam Chair, through you, it's for Mr. Miranda. Can you give me a quick overview of what's needed in the levying station that's not really completed since?
I'd prefer if you address those through me,
Sure.
Mr. Sénécal.
Yeah. So the question goes
And
to
I believe when
Manager.
we get to, yes, and my answer will be when we get to the 2022, these are highlights of last year. When we get to 2022, we'll be happy to address that.
It's just to, because the chief brought it up, so that's why I didn't want to miss my chance. But if it's dealt with further down the line, that's fine.
All right.
And
So
another question through Madam
we'll
Chair.
make sure.
Oh, sorry. There's a lag there. Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, we're all having bad internet. No, I'm waiting for your question. I apologize if there's a delay here. I feel like I'm.
I just wanted to ask you, I guess, the transition in training from fire college to the new fire system that we're doing now, centers, is that at least less expensive or more expensive for us? To go through the college or to do it ourselves sort of in Northern Ontario? Just wondering if it's cheaper. Is there savings there?
I think the chief can. I think the chief can comment, but I think that it's too early to tell. I think because we're still in the transition. I do remember that we were getting a very good deal with respect to, because there was housing, and there was accommodations and so forth. And what's going to end up happening now also would be our travel policy might kick in. So what we might have is a low cost training session. We might have to start in having people to get to Timmins or so forth. So we're still assessing that, and we'll probably be in a better position to comment on that down the time with a bit of experience.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Mr. Fisher? Sorry.
So I have a quick question. It's a bit of a leading question, and firefighting is the perfect example of where online training doesn't work so well. I know we have been doing the best we can, so I would ask the chief. We have a huge volunteer force. I'm sure that there's at this point in time there's catch up to be done, and maybe legislation and this, that, and the other. And could you just give us a brief and quick overview of training in that area? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any
Again,
questions. Whoops. It's our day.
No, that's fine. It's just the technology. We all have to be patient and make sure. But Councillor Fisher, again, I'll repeat, some of those comments will be in the 2022. Again, Mike's here to support myself. And if you just address the questions to me, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Did you heard it, Councillor Fisher?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. Building and planning. Monsieur Barbeau.
Sorry about that. Yeah. As it says there, one line. There's a lot of building and a lot of planning. So, but 146. So there, what I'll say, and we'll get into it in 2022 and going on. We're kind of conservative in how we human resource these departments, and we want to make sure that there's a consistent level of activity to say, oh my God, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot, and they've been doing a lot for a long time. And if you do comparative communities, we're very efficiently resourced for the amount of activity that we do. And so we will be speaking about resources that are not at the highest level, but at the making sure that Monsieur Bézinet and I'm drawing a blank here, guys. Sorry, but the individual Monsieur Jauch. Pardon, what's his name?
Monsieur Duprat.
There you go. If you drive by River Valley, you would know that. So those two, we want to free them up and give them some support, and we'll be talking about that in the new budget. Really isn't much to talk about there. It's just additional revenue. Economic development.
Just a quick
savings,
question,
the
Mr.
timing
Barbeau.
of hiring the staff. When
Mr. Barbeau, just a quick question. The 146, is it all by building permit, the revenue? Is that what it is? The $146,000 that exceeded revenue. Okay, where is he now? Oh, he's there.
I believe.
Mm-hmm. So the 140 exceeded revenues by 146,000. So we had a budgeted revenue, and we had 146,000 more than we planned on.
Some
Okay.
of that-
Question?
No,
If
my question was, is it mostly because of the demand for permit for construction that exceeded revenue?
Elisa?
Yeah, it's actually across the board. Certainly permit revenue was substantial part of it, but it was planning revenue as well.
Yeah.
So consent, zoning, planning amendments, the entire department.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll wait for Mr. Barbeau.
I'm
Madam
just trying to
Chair,
turn off
Do you see
anything.
my
like
hand
the
when I
internet
raise my
related.
hand?
Well, now I see it, but it changed. The picture changed, and if I look at you, I think you're there. I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I didn't see it. So you have a question?
A comment. Building and planning, West Nipissing, we don't charge any development charges, right? We're exempt from development charges. And I just wanted to highlight that's really a benefit as well, because some neighboring municipalities have waived their development charges to try to stimulate new construction or new growth. And I mean, we've had no development charges for as long as I can remember. And it's definitely a benefit for one to come and invest within the municipality. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Now we can proceed with economic development, Mr. Barbeau.
Thank you. The economic development, there's some savings in the hiring of staff, of course, because there's full year budgeting that we do. And there's a carryover of RFPs for studies that we're supposed to close, and they're going to be, that money's carried over to 2022. Mr. Poulin, if you have anything to add.
No, again, I think you touched on both items there. Our planned staff came in later in the year, so there's some savings there. I believe that there might also be some savings in relation to marketing, spent marketing dollars because of having staff and the pandemic and everything. So that's why we've seen some savings in that department.
Okay. Any
Okay,
comment?
anybody else? Anybody else? Madam Mayor?
We probably have some savings also with the awards of the tenders, right? I think we had forecasted, anyway, maybe not that much, but we do have savings with the tenders, I believe,
But that would come to this year, I believe, right?
in the 2022 budget,
That's right.
because it was carried over to 2022.
So we're
And the
talking,
contracts for both proposals were awarded this year in 2022.
so these are,
Unless-
these are highlights of 2021. So yeah.
Any other question? Now we can proceed with police, please.
Well, the police, we're getting close to finalizing the transition in terms of billing models and so forth. As discussed yesterday or last night a little bit with respect to policing, we're finalizing that policing contract, and we'll reach out to them. It's actually not with the police, it's with the province. Now we'll reach out to them. As you know, and it was kudos to Johnny Belanger and the construction team that they managed to get that building built on time and on budget, which was pretty impressive in the COVID times when we're paying twice the amount for lumber. The maintenance contract, we've contracted that out. We determined that operationally that would be just a lot easier than to deploy our staff in there with having to have them security cleared and all of that and the variations. It's just easier if they take that over. And so it basically, it doesn't affect how we're reimbursed. It's the same amount whether we do it or they do it. So as was passed last night, the construction draws are now part of term loans, and the timing of everything. I imagine the facility, Elisa or Ms. Craddock, impacted the required transfer from general reserves. It resulted in a reduced amount that we needed to transfer. Do you want to explain that, Elisa?
Yes, thank you. It is exactly as you said. Actually, when we budgeted last year and the year before, the same. We budgeted for loan payments and various things depending on when the transition continued. So because those things were pushed and we were just paying interest, that what we needed to take from reserve in the 2021 year was less than we anticipated because the transition has just been over a longer period.
Okay, any question, Monsieur Conseiller Rowley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would be a question directed to our CAO. So I think it's this year that we are just a confirmation. I want this year we're going to the regular billing model, if I'm not mistaken.
I lost count. So it's when we took over it was June of what year we took over in the temporary site. So it's from the time that we started. It's from December. It's from January 1, that first year.
June 6th. June 6th.
So I believe let me do this as a guess and see if I'm corrected. I believe that it'll happen January 1 of next year. Is that correct? Ms. Craddock? Okay. Yeah. So the billing model. So that should be reflective for a new council.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, Madam Mayor.
The maintenance contract, since it's so regulated, pertaining to that sector, was the legwork done by OPP, to search for a contractor to provide that service, or did we do that at the municipal level?
We did.
We did? Okay.
Yes. And the reason we did, this might have our viewing audience chuckle, but is because we're more efficient at it. And we were in a hurry to make sure that we controlled the narrative and that we got these things done as quickly as possible. And so that's why we controlled it with a team led by Steph and Johnny Belanger, an architect firm that we retained to work for us, specializing in OPP and facilities folks. getting to a contract, capital construction, getting to a contractor. It was a general contractor leading to everything. So that's how that works. So we controlled that, and it was, and the specs where there's a book that's secret, and they give it to the contractor, and then they go forward and they do it. So
Okay, so that would be part of the policing budget, right? The actual contract
no,
for maintenance? Non? On fait pas dans la ligne de budget pour police?
it will be a global amount. Non, ça va être un numéro global. Je ne sais pas s'il y a les lignes de détail.
Okay,
Elisa, Director of Corporate Services, in your budget, I haven't looked that far. Is there a line item presentation of what that contractor cost us in that building?
I believe that Madam Mayor is talking about our cleaning contract.
yeah, the
But-
maintenance.
And yes, it is rolled up into the facility maintenance costs, yes.
Okay,
We saw it as wages last year, it's part of the facility maintenance cost this year. Yes.
but it's not a separate line item is what I was saying. It's a
No,
roll up.
no, it's a roll,
Right,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. All right.
Any other question? Okay, board and levies. Monsieur Barbeau.
Substantially as budgeted. Boards and levies are things that people ask of us, and we pay them and we complain and we justify them because they're necessary, DSAB, or Chateau, and so forth, and we pay them. So there's no surprise there.
Okay, so now we go with the summary of our category. What time is it? I don't have 7:28. So we can start with the summary of all category, if everybody's in agreement.
It
Okay.
looks a lot. It looks a lot longer than it is, but yeah, it does have a roll up of the different items in the category. So we will go over it. Prior to that, though, what I'll do is because it forms part of the next budget, is I'll just take you to the reserve or to the bottom line or the last page of that, where it shows the surplus and or deficit. And so this year, we have a surplus of about where is it here? I'm flying. 1.4 million, $1.466 million surplus. So that's a lot. And so what it does is if you go to your reserve page, which would be, you'd have it as page 10 in your document. What it does is it brings your reserve position at the end of last year as of January 1 of this year of 5.5, almost 5.6 million. As you know, for the history buffs, we tended to run lean and mean here in this municipality. And we used to, yes, she laughs because she doesn't like that part. That's where we defer. Back when back in the days, about 10 years ago, I used to be comfortable with around 2 million. Anything lower than 2 million, I would start to go, okay. And then anything above, I'd start to go, okay, maybe that's too much. And really, that's my position. The council position could be much more conservative, but I've never gotten the sense from council that they were more conservative per se. They would want to use reserves and not have your residents' money in the bank for no apparent reason. And so we've slowly been ramping that up because our organization has also increased, and our liability and our rainy days necessary have also increased. And so we've raised that. So last year we started at, and so the discussion last year with this council was, I think 4.1 million is not a bad reserve position for this municipality. That was last year. And lo and behold, now it's at 5.6 million. And so a little bit of foreshadowing. Obviously, the solution that I had brought in, and I'm probably guessing that it'll be mostly rhetorical, is that if we've taken tax money from the residents last year and for no fault of anybody, it was unnecessarily taken, then it either stays there for a rainy day and so you don't have to go and get them later, or you bring it back to them and use it in this year's budgeting to lower the ability or lower the requirement to go get more money from them. And so you'll see in the budget submission that we're relying heavily on just taking that surplus and moving it over to this year to help get an acceptable tax rate. You're seeing 2.37. We started working obviously when we take a bunch of raw data with we started much higher, and so we wanted to get to a document that we feel you would accept mostly. And so we've made some of those finance decisions that we believe are still aggressive, but I managed to convince maybe Elisa without her pushing back too hard. So it must be okay with her too. That's what I'm going to assume, Elisa, or you had your chance. So
Question.
Yeah.
Yes,
Reserves.
Madam Mayor.
Since we're on the subject matter of reserves, and maybe just clarity, throughout the year, we had to spend more for specific projects, i.e., I believe the Verna Garage and probably the HVAC at the pool. But anyway, the projects were underestimated in relation to COVID, and they were more costly. Did we take that money out of the operational budget, or I thought it was coming out from reserve?
Elisa, do you want to tackle that? I'm quite sure.
Certainly. So actually, both those projects that you mentioned are projects that are staying as work in progress at the end of 2021 and are carrying to 2022 in those cases. But in all the cases with capital, it's a bit of, it doesn't come out of operating. In all the cases with capital, community services ran into a few projects that came in over bid. Certainly, Public Works had that, and it's a little bit of, well, we're winning a little bit on this project. We're okay on this project. We do have some left in reserve. That's what community services was doing when we looked at the playgrounds and things like that, that they had a little bit. We don't like to run our reserves to zero when we're doing budgeting. So we had that little bit of room. So some of those projects are carried as work in progress, and the reserve monies were still there and tied for them. So none of it came out of operating. It all stayed within the capital budgets.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it clarifies. So with the wiggle room, with the different projects, there was still some leftover monies that they were able to grab and apply for the over cost. Okay, perfect.
Okay, well, now I lost who was next, and that's why I like to go by order, but I'm gonna go by order on top. So Mr. Conseiller Rowley, question, and then Conseiller Fisher, and then Conseiller Revito.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, question would be, I guess, directed to our CAO. Our starting point at 2.37 for this year, is that adding last year's surplus in it, or the surplus is beside that?
No, it's actually factoring in that. We've used that surplus as one of our assumptions of reducing the tax burden to the residents. So that 2.37 is already factored that in. It's not necessarily all of it, because as of my last draft, I think the Director of Corporate Services had tweaked something. So the exact amount that we use will get in to the point. Is that in the material changes documentation, Elisa? Yeah, okay. So I'll get it then. I'll be able to answer you very specifically what we did take. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Conseiller Fisher?
Yeah, so reserves is always, I guess it's a philosophy question, but I guess in line with what Councillor Rowley was saying. So I see reserves as of December 30. What are our projected reserves for year end? Like, let's say we do have a net zero budget. What will our reserves sit at at December 31st, 2022? I guess is my question. And again, perhaps for our Director of Corporate Services, because I know Jay's stance on this. I know there's sort of a band of, acceptable, you should have this sort of much, whether it be 8, 12, 15%. Can somebody just speak to that just generally for me? Thank you.
I think that I'll have Elisa speak to our end reserve, because that, I guess you're pushing the same question that Councillor Rowley wanted to know. We would get there down the line, but what's the, I believe we're increasing our reserve slightly by a couple $100,000, but go ahead, Elisa.
Yeah, correct. It still does increase the reserve. So the reserve transfer that's currently budgeted for 2022, I just had it a minute ago here, is 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million. So that brings us down to sort of that 4.4 range that we'll have at the end of 2022 if we have a zero-based year, if the year goes through that way. As far as what the magic number is on reserves, Councillor Fisher, yeah, 8, 12, 16. So 15% is a number that's bandied about a whole lot, but a lot of it does depend on the risk tolerance of the municipality, the history of the municipality, what as far as like worst case scenario, like, so we have one really large bridge that is a real problem. Wawa has 2 really large bridges that could be a real problem. So it does depend a little bit on what the risk for the municipality is. And as Mr. Barbo already explained, the risk tolerance of this municipality has been a little bit more aggressive in years gone by, and trending towards a little bit more conservative, just because as the world gets a little less stable, then we just need to be a little bit more conservative. But yeah, I didn't really answer your question, but that's about as best as I can get.
Supplemental, if I may, through you.
Go ahead, Councillor.
So 4.3, when we're talking about percentages, we're sitting right about 10%. Is that fair to say?
Of gross expenditures?
Yeah, is it like, if we, is that
No,
the way it's
slightly better.
Is that the way it's judged, and we would be
well,
about 10%?
Yeah, I mean, for you accounting types that want to do acid test ratios, quick ratios, and all stuff that's theoretical, that's all well and good. So it's a percentage of your total expenditures. Having said that, if your assets are in the $180 million and they collapse, then you're not talking about your own revenues, because they're already dedicated for another purpose. It really comes down to what the industry rate is, yes. What is expected, though, in terms of your rainy day, and what is your history for thinking that. And so, we also have other sources of revenue that we can bandy about. When I was, 5 years ago, and probably more outspoken than I am now, I told the municipal affairs person, I smiled and said, yes, you would like to have it. I think back then they wanted it at about 5 or 7 million. And I said, that would be great for the provincial government, because when you went and asked them for money, they wouldn't, you wouldn't be in need. So it's kind of, there's a balance there. And so I'm happy, or I am comfortable with the 4.3, as I indicated, and Ms. Craddock is comfortable with, or at least she settles that we're trending upwards.
Thank you.
Mr. Revida was next, Madam Mayor after.
That was going to be my point. The more you have in a reserve, then the province can come back and say, use your reserves before you come and knock on our door. Because I saw that in the ministries when I worked for the province. That was just going to be my comment. So thank you. And the rest, I get it. It's pretty, I understand. Thanks.
Madam Mayor?
I was going to add compliment to what the CEO said. At many times you hear coffers of other municipalities where they have large amount of reserves in the bank, and basically it's tax dollars that you're grabbing from the taxpayers and you're putting there for a rainy day. So it's a balancing act of what's a comfort level, for elected officials to say, what are we going to grab from taxpayers and what are we going to keep in reserve, but also to be able to look at the issues of long-term planning and like everything that's been said in the past about capturing funding as well. And we have quite a few large projects that are going to be on the table that are going to be asking for a contribution of the municipality.
I do. Any other question? Because I have one. I'm not too sure. Just want a clarification. Is the 1.4 million surplus are we using it to get to the 2.37% increase?
Yes, a portion of it.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll find out the portion later on,
Yeah, we'll repeat it again, yes.
and we can maybe ask a small portion to put it down a little bit. I'm joking, okay?
That's a
Just-
capital, sure, yeah.
Okay, so I guess now, where are we? We're going back to the reserve is over. We finished with summary of all category, right?
Right. Mhm. Well, yeah, Elisa, is there any other way that you would want to present this or go right into the overview? One of the things that I could say is if you look at your summary of all categories, and again, we're all going to be guinea pigs along with this, but then also look at your key budget changes, because really, if we're starting to look at 22 right now, and what you have is if you go to the bottom of a summary of all categories, and it's classified in a variety of different ways, your shortfall is $431,603. So with all of our assumptions in here on how to spend it and what revenues we assume we have, we need to go find an additional $431,603. Now that is also on, I'm just trying to find here, trying to juggle as well, on a total budget expenditure of about 30 million. I'm just going to guess here. And so $400,000 on 30 million, you know, is not too bad. We're fairly healthy that we have to go get to support. What I would also say on that is that the 181,000, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be 187, Elisa, I don't have it in front of me. The presentation doesn't show it the same way as I'm used to. Is 1% 180, what is 1%? Anyone?
Yeah, so it is 182,000, 1%.
What? Sorry,
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
Call me a
182?
liar.
182, okay.
So 182. So 182 times
3.6.
2.7. 2.37 is your
off.
431.
Okay.
Okay. So with respect to that, now if you look at the different departments, we can take the summary of revenue expenses, and we can do an overview, and then you've got the other pages and references that you can drill down either tonight, or as I indicate, we can collect a bunch of questions and then be very, very efficient at responding to your needs in the subsequent meeting. Taxation, do you want to go through this, Elisa, more than myself? Or basically, I'd like to coincide the key changes with this revenue and expenses. So I guess I'm all over the map. Do you want Lisa to talk about the key budget changes? And
I think, Mr. Gogo, that would probably be smoother, because the key budget changes have it written out. It's probably easier for people to follow than the spreadsheets, because what you're going to talk about is what the spreadsheets summarize. Yeah.
All right, so to roll this back a second and a half so that you all know where we're at now. So now we're talking about 2022. You're talking about an increase of $431,000 or a difference, a need for $431,000 in taxes. And a summary of the key changes in that entire document is represented starting on page 11. I don't know if Chris has his hand up or.
I do. If I may just ask a quick question.
Yes, yes.
Because I have, interestingly enough, you just said the number 431,000, and that is actually 2.182 times 2.37. And so essentially, if we sent nothing to reserves this year, if we did not build reserves, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I've lost, we could actually have a zero we could have a net zero budget if we sent nothing to reserves. Am I close or am I not close?
Yes, you were very close. If we carried over the overall amount, you would be probably at around 1% or so, or close to that.
Thank you.
Yes. So your questions tend to lead us towards more reserves. So, okay, thank you, Councillor Fisher. Shot. So, so the key changes, building and planning. Building and planning, to meet increased demands, revenue is also no growth to support this addition. I think, did you guys miss something here? But that's a body, ensure smooth operations. So there's an additional amount of revenue that you saw, but we are recommending that there's additional support for planning and for building. And right now we have one clerk that is juggling absolutely everything. And they do a great job. But what it does is it forces the managers who are, they're working fully, but it forces them to basically do things and be less effective by having to handle their own paperwork and support. The other thing with planning is just the sheer amount of searches, the perimeter searches and so on and so forth. It's just gotten to be that we cannot sustain this level of activity without support. So that's what that is. But again, we are increasing the revenue by 86,000 plan. So we're already factoring in that there's going to be growth, and Monsieur Bézinet and Madame Duchamp are very good at knowing what's down the pike. And so really, in terms of this being in addition to your expenditures, it's covered by the 86,000. So we're actually a little bit net positive there. Are there any questions with respect to building planning? Because that's the only real change there.
Madam Mayor?
Okay, I just want to summarize, make sure I understand correctly. Building and planning, don't they have a dedicated full-time clerk, like
Yes.
clerk, to be able to
Yes.
support planning? I mean, building?
Yes.
Okay, they do.
Yes.
So over and above that, we're
They need another one.
recommending one additional person. That additional person would be for what position? Are we looking for a building officer,
be-
a chief building officer, planner, or?
Madam Mayor, I mentioned that, but no, I'm looking for one additional support person.
One
So
support
the
person?
title of that support person, yes, we're not enhancing the higher end positions. They're able to maximize their efficiencies and effectiveness if they have better support.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear it, so that's why I was asking.
Any other
No
question?
problem. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a comment on that. I think if we're going exceeding like by that amount of we know the building is crazy out there, and I think it's a valuable request to increase a person to support the staff that we have right now. So that's my comment on that one. Then we go to.
Okay,
Pardon?
just next. Excuse
Next.
It's just me. Well, community services. That's that really weird fluff and bubbles, everything else, everything that you want to have in a municipality, but we're afraid to ask. Everything we haven't thought about that Sean Remillard can't perform, then we just say, give it to Steph, figure it out. So that's community services. It's obviously but it runs our facilities, it runs our recreation programs, our parks, all of that, and our programming and active. So community services, they too are requesting an additional support person. Now they have expanded in the last 10 years, where we have a variety of different buildings and way more demands on us in terms of calls for service for our facilities. And what they don't have, like the public works and sewer and water people have, they don't have dedicated support. They have programming clerks that are basically handling the front desk at the recreation center. They have coordinators that are content specific who are supposed to enhance our programming. And we have two new terrific hires in addition to our seasoned veterans. So that we're looking forward on that. So this is support. And they're getting a ton of requests. StatsCan alone can almost employ somebody full-time. So that's what that is about. The lease revenue, though. So that's a maintenance employee. Did I jump ahead? I went to community services clerk. Sorry. So now I'll go back to maintenance employee. Maintenance employee, we need another maintenance staff, pure and simple, because we have additional requirements to service StatsCan, and we have, thanks to Steph's negotiation, a significant amount of increased lease revenue, which is the $358,000. And so, but we also, though, for that, have undertaken with these new federal regulations of having to be absolutely on the higher end of building health. We need somebody more dedicated to servicing them. And so that's what that is. Is that fair enough, Steph?
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, he's blank.
Any questions, Madam Mayor? We can go, Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So is it, and what I heard, we already negotiated the contract with StatsCan, or it's going to be negotiated in 2022?
So
It's a negotiation that is in its final stages and should be before you shortly.
Okay. And subsequent to that, with the increased maintenance, from what I've heard, because of their protocols or because we need to meet their requirements, would that be related to COVID, or is it just because I'm just asking?
The answer is no, it's not related to COVID. The answer is it's related to the federal government and the provincial government contract building management to large companies, and these companies have standards, and ever since they've been doing that one-on-one with, say, Steph's position and the person out of North Bay anymore, and it's very protocoled, and so there's air quality measurements. There's all kinds of aspects that they expect.
I know that being an ex-employee of StatsCan before retirement, but I mean, I thought maybe, is it because they've changed or added criterias? And I thought maybe it was relevant to COVID. I just thought it was a little bit odd because last year they weren't in full operation upstairs. That's why I'm asking the questions. So we're looking to have.
We have to have.
Pardon, j'ai pas compris, excuse. On dirait le son est coupé.
Can you hear, Mr. Barbeau?
We're adding one complement to work in this building to assist with the increased demands for StatsCan, and also to assist with the fact that there's more activity in this building now as well, municipally, and we have usually one person for this entire 30,000 square foot building that is here, spills, shoveling driveways, this and the other thing. It's become untenable, and so that's why we're requiring it. We're asking for it this year because of Steph's success in negotiating.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? So my question, and again, I think I understand, but I want to make sure. There will be $358,000 increase in revenue because of the good negotiating skill of Monsieur Poulain. So is that money going to be part of that? You're going to take that money part of that 358?
Well, we're going to be your final, the difference between everything else is 431. Part of that 431, there's going to be additional expenses, but there's also additional revenues that offset that. So what we're saying is, for this expense, we've gotten additional revenue to cover that, but it's still, it doesn't change your.
No, but I just want to, that's why you're asking for it, because you know that it's going to be covered.
Right.
Okay.
Nope, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, community service clerk now. And I think it's seven, Monsieur Barbeau, it's 7:58. I think we should go for a break. If,
Motion for recess.
Oh my God, you scared the hell out
I'll
of me.
move it.
Okay, and who wants to second it? Monsieur Rowley, Conseiller Rowley. So, Madam Clerk, where are you now? Everybody is changing, can,
I'm right here.
okay,
It's moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Larrabee. At 8 p.m., a motion was made for a 15-minute recess for the meeting to continue following.
all in favor? Carry. Thank you. We're back in at 8:15.
Much better when there's less pictures on it. Go, good, Lyle.
Yeah.
Can I?
It's
Okay.
8:15. Who's missing? Rolly. Conseiller Rolly? Okay, they're all moving. Okay, so we were. Mr. Barbeau, you remember where we were? Community service clerk?
I do, but I can also have a conversation with you just as to where we are now to make sure we're moving along according to where you want. So I see that the manager of Public Works is here. If you don't mind, I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping because I've been giving you general stuff. Mr. Remillard, you probably would have said a month and a half to 2 months ago, but when do you feel operationally you absolutely need to get your answer for your capital? The reason I ask that is perhaps council would want to go there if it's absolutely, or can you wait till next week potentially, or what? I don't know.
Obviously, Jay, the earlier the better, as you said. My fear is that the longer we wait, the more contractors that we lose to potentially other projects or potentially other communities. The other issue is that, not only do we have to wait until we have an approved budget, but then we have the RFQ process, and then we have to come back to council to get these projects awarded. So all those are delays, and so it's not just a matter of approving the budget and then we kind of pull the trigger on it. So again, the sooner the better.
Thanks.
We'll do what we can when we can.
Thanks. So, Madam Chair, asking your indulgence, we're on a really good flow, and I'm very pleased at how we're all kind of participating and leading to a satisfactory result later. And I don't want to ruin that, but perhaps we could handle capital. And it's up to you, but if you want to actually check off the box of what we absolutely need to do operationally other than maintain is our capital projects. And so if it's up to you, we can either do that now or capital or wait until the next meeting is whenever that is.
Well, it's I don't have an issue. But I mean, I'm not the one deciding by myself. So I think I would ask if there's any. I know that Conseiller Leo, you have your hands up, but I think okay. Say what you have to say, and after that, I'll see what the other councillor have to say.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion because not only some, but other people have to get some tenders. So maybe if you do it tonight, go through the capital budget, I think it's a good idea. That's all my comments.
Okay. Anybody else have a comment or in agreement with that? Because
I'm in agreement.
I think we all said that last year we talked about it, that it would be first, so to make sure that we'll be able in time. And so, okay, which page can we direct at the workbook? It's page.
I believe it says capital budget, page 15.
15, that's it. Okay.
On this section, I said that I would run through myself, but on this section here with capital, I'll pass it along to the Director of Corporate Services working with the Manager of Public Works, just to go through the capital allocation. I hope you don't mind. I hope I didn't spring that on you, Elisa.
Of course. And actually, I'm going to hand it mostly to Mr. Remillard. I will just take you through just the little first kind of blurb before we go into the details. So as council's aware, we do longer term capital planning, And a lot of times what you see, particularly in public works for capital work in the current year, is stuff that the prep work has been laid out for in the year prior. So a lot of it is just the sort of that next step. And we've been through this with council, you know, brushing and ditching leads to gravel the next year, and you know, one lift leads to second lift and things like that. So a lot of the work is sort of staged out. And so some of the work is already kind of in progress because we did the groundwork for it in 2021. That said, we have some big things, you know, in my world, exciting things going on in our capital planning. So got a little bit delayed again because of COVID and the stuff, but we are have our roads needs study RFP out right now, combined with our asset management for the core infrastructure RFP out right now. You know, it has been quite some number of years, and so we'll get sort of a fresh point to start with our planning, our long-term planning with capital. If council remembers, we've had a number of steps actually with the asset management plan this year that are different from prior years. We had to set some policy already. There'll be some more policy regarding service levels that come to council. Some of that will make it easier for staff to manage going forward and to manage how we evaluate roads and how we evaluate not just our roads, but our infrastructure based on those service levels. Community Services has spent 2 years, again, council has allocated budget for over the last 2 years, doing a rather large study on our facility assessments, and again, doing operating and capital longer term planning, and council will see those later this year as well. So what you have in your reference documents is not necessarily the same the capital that you've seen, because you're going to get the documents later this year in a much more detailed form to look at future years and things like that. As always, our capital is funded through a mix of reserves, funding, some grants that are in play and things like that. And so all that's sort of taken into consideration. I will hand things off to Mr. Remier to actually look at the projects that he's got proposed for 2022.
Thank you, Elisa. So we can start off with our asphalt resurfacing. The first street is Chateau Terrace, Garden Village Road, which was deferred, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. The Cartier Street was a project from 2021 that was deferred because we are working with the developer in the area, without saying too much, but we don't want to kind of handcuff the developer with our 5-year no-cut policy. Olivier Street was kind of done because of the plowing match, in conjunction with the plowing match and some funding there. We did, after the initial surface treatment, there were 2 or 3 areas where that deteriorated. So this year, our crews went in and excavated the base and kind of reestablished the base and removed the pockets of clay that were coming through the initial surface treatment. So that's complete. It should have plenty of time to settle out. And next year, we're going to do the second surface treatment. Pilon Street, I would invite any councillor to take a drive down Pilon Street. If it's you can't even tell it's asphalt. 3rd Street, King to Roy, that street was actually identified in the 2013 asset management plan, so it's long overdue. The Front Street curb lanes, we haven't heard back on our connecting link funding as of yet, but that's what that's about. And we have the John Street project that we are currently in the, I would say probably 30% design phase. So the contractor is fully aware that we are looking to go out to tender for 2022. Just for a little bit of an overview on the design, we're looking at full concrete barrier curb, full sidewalk reconstruction, and full resurfacing with some storm and drainage works. We are not doing any water main. We are not doing any sewer main. So that is a little bit of a gamble. I did get the camera closed circuit TV inspections completed from Nipissing to Coursol. There are a few sanitary laterals that will need addressing, connections, and so on. So we'll obviously have those repaired at the time of the project. Moving on to patching, we still have the Cache Bay manholes that keep growing through our streets in Cache Bay that we have done significant progress actually over the years, but there's still some to address. Granular A, pretty self-explanatory. Those are just, as Elisa was explaining, we do brushing and ditching one year and we resurface with granular A the following year. So if you go to last year, you're going to see all these projects were under brushing and ditching. Sidewalks, we have a small portion of sidewalks that we want to get done, and that's between Coursol, or it's on Coursol between Ethel and La Chance, and it's kind of, we have a lot of children in the area, I think is what was said last year by council. Riva Street, La Chance Street, there's significant development in that area. So we need to get those kids from that kind of new development to the Ethel and Coursol sidewalk at the corner of Ethel and Coursol. So there's a little piece missing in there. Bridge repairs, we have this year when I put out the RFQs, the bids came in significantly higher than anticipated. So we did get about half our projects done, but the other half in consultation with the CAO, we decided to hold off on the other half of because we would have been significantly over budget. Eugene Road was identified by the engineers to be replaced. So you'll see that we're going for design only this year. And we're also going to look at options on different types of bridge or potentially a concrete box culvert, whatever is most cost effective. And we go into brushing and ditching, which is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that I need to go through all of them. Maybe of note is Dokis Road. And Dokis Road, I'm proposing to do in 4 phases. So year 1 would be approximately 5. We maintain about 20 kilometers of Dokis Road. So you're phasing it out in 4 years. We're going to do 5 kilometers per year. So 5 kilometers brushing and ditching. The following year, we'd resurface that section and brush and ditch the next 5, and so on and so forth. Starting from the bridge, from the Dokis end, and working our way out. Capital equipment, we have a 3/4 ton pickup, backhoe for the sturgeon yard, which is over its life cycle. The loader has been dealt with. We have an additional snow blade. Trailers, you're going to see 2. There's just small trailers that we purchased one, I think last year. These are smaller expenses, but just to explain, and we've noticed that it's a lot safer for staff. It's a lot more efficient when hauling culverts, when hauling water mains. Instead of having to load culverts in the back of our dump trucks, it was unsafe for our employees to have to climb in and out of a dump box and sling pipe. And so these trailers are really efficient and beneficial to our staff. The 18-ton excavator, that is the old excavator that is currently being leased from Environmental Services. There's a little bit of a saving, I guess, on the lease of the excavator, but in turn, it's due for replacement. And we have 2 steamers that are outdated and are on the borderline of being tagged out because of the age.
That's what's going to happen to us. We're going to be tagged out at some point of time.
Oh, no, you're too young for the Councillor Lease.
I said at some point of time.
I'll just finish off with facilities. We have the Sturgeon Falls Public Works Garage, the office. These are old office trailers, like the portable trailers. And again, I would invite any councillor to come and visit the trailer with me. I think 10 years ago, the guys were drilling holes because the ceiling's leaking, and then it would create puddles inside the office. So they would have to drill holes through the floor to drain. They had to screw down a 4x8 sheet of plywood in front of one of the desks because the floor was rotting, and they're going through the floor. So we need to definitely look at that. And we're not asking for a big building. It's going to be basically the exact same footprint. And so that needs to be looked at. Any questions, comments, concerns? I'll maybe pass it back to the chair for.
Okay, sorry. I'm gonna go Councillor Rowley, then Councillor Fisher, and we'll see after Madame Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm most of the work, like you stated, Sean is or Mr. Ramial is work that has started last year and needs to be finished this year. So it's work in process that we kind of have to go with. And with this, I don't have any problem at all with what you've brought forward. And so I'm very pleased to see this, and for what you've stated here, for the trailers for hauling pipes, those are just regular trailers. They're, I guess, for that price, they're not the dumping trailers.
No, they're not. They're just a standard 20-foot tandem axle trailer with the back gate.
Okay, thank you. So no, I don't have any problem with this, and I wouldn't mind approving this like we stated tonight. And if we have extra things that we'd like to bring on at a later date, we could tag it onto this, so that way we're taking advantage of our contractors if we put out this work out right now for RFPs. So I don't have any problem with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Monsieur Conseiller Fisher.
So yeah, I agree with Rolly's comments. I just want to maybe short circuit the conversation, because every year we do have quite a discussion about sidewalks usually. And I see that there's just one sidewalk there. I remember last year there was quite, at some point there was extensive photographs of sidewalks in disrepair that needed fixing. And I know there have been, since my tenure on council, there have been sidewalks on people's wish list. You know, I live out in the country, so I'm not really a sidewalk guy. But you know, that the sidewalk, to me, it looks quite light. Can you possibly speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah. So the reason the sidewalks are light is because all of John Street between Nipissing and Coursol, if you kind of picture it, there's a section missing between Coursol and I believe the first street is Clark or Carey. I think it's Clark. So that we'll have a new section of sidewalk in there. We also have an extensive design currently in progress with the firm of Greer Galloway. So you're looking at King Street between John and Ethel, all of Ethel Street between King and Nipissing, Main Street between Market and Ethel, all of Nipissing Street from Front Street to Ethel Street. Then we have Ethel from Nipissing to Church. So there is extensive design work. So we're not going to go and replace, you know, a section of sidewalk, and most of the bad sidewalk sections are those streets that I just explained. So those will be coming to council in future years, but we need the design because they're complete reconstructs. So there's no, you know, if we were to be replacing those, we'd just be putting good money to bad. So we'll address patch until such time as we can reconstruct appropriately.
Thank you.
Madame Mayor, I think you were next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, to our Manager of Public Works. So last year, or maybe our Director of Corporate Services, how much did we spend in capital work projects last year? I'm just trying to do the comparison of how much we spent last year and what's being proposed this year as far as budget.
So last year we had budgeted $5.1 million of capital projects. We incurred expenses of just over 3 million in 2022, in that we did have projects, most noticeably Nature Trail Bridge and the Vernon Garage, but most noticeably the Nature Trail Bridge. They got started fairly late in the year, so it's carrying over, and it's funded by gas tax and its own reserve. So it's carrying over to 2022. So that's a lot of the difference in the expenditure versus the budget amount. And then we did defer a couple projects, as Mr. Remillard said, regarding the bridges and things like that. So yeah, we had budgeted 5.1 million in 2021.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because when I look at the entire list that's presented to us, we're looking at spending 3.539 million. Plus, not counting the building, but I'm just talking about our roads, our sidewalks, that we're going to be, what's being proposed is 3.5. Last year, was it 5.1 that we spent on our roads?
Oh, sorry, no, that was not on roads. It
Yeah,
was
I
4
want to
million.
be able to see if we're going to be spending, if taxpayers are asking how much of your budget is being dedicated, for capital work projects for roads and sidewalks, and are we maintaining the same level of expenditure as last year? And if we are, we're not decreasing our budget, we're not decreasing the investment on our infrastructure for roads and sidewalks. That's why I'm asking the question.
Roads and sidewalks, and the ditching dollars was just shy of $4.1 million budgeted last year. Now, last year, and actually the last 2 years, we've been fortunate in that the province has doubled up our gas tax 2 years in a row. And we don't have that this year. And certainly I do expect to see that when we get to our our roads needs and our asset management study, that we'll have a clearer picture on the investment needed each year. We have been very fortunate in securing funding, and then, like I said, in these doubling ups of gas tax and increased OCIF over the last couple of years. It is really important that council stay on top of the province, that we need to maintain these as stable levels of funding, because our needs are only going to increase from here.
Okay, thank you. Can I continue, Madam Chair, so I can finish my questions?
Yes.
Okay. Do we know exactly what's being anticipated as far as gas tax money for this year?
Gas tax, the 2022 allocation is $911,000.
How much? Sorry, I didn't hear.
911?
Okay,
Okay.
I thought you said
Okay.
$900.
Okay. And I think I heard it, or if I didn't hear it, I thought I read it. We're also going to be spending money this year to be able to do a new capital road management plan. Did I hear correctly, or I read that somewhere?
Yes, yeah, both. So the roads needs study and the asset management plan are both on the schedule this year.
Okay. And why are we not looking at a sidewalk management plan? We had one. And there was one that identified all the sidewalks, which were categorized based on priorities, depending on the condition of those sidewalks.
So the asset management, oh, sorry.
And know that we had a study, a management plan for sidewalks for all of West Nipissing. And then we had the road management plan for the roads. So it seems that the sidewalk management plan that basically evaluated the condition of all the sidewalks in West Nipissing, and it gave us sort of a list to prioritize every year. So what I'm hearing right now is we do have a lot of sidewalks that do need repairs, but not only in Sturgeon, we have some in Verner, and potentially, I know that we have some in other communities as well. But we're not putting any money to be able to look at rehabilitating those sidewalks.
So actually, the asset management plan covers core infrastructure, which includes sidewalks. So the asset management plan will encapsulate that planning requirement for sidewalks. It was probably only about 2 years ago that Public Works went through and had a sidewalk analysis done. So they'll take the data that we have and incorporate it into the asset management plan. So we will see sidewalks as part of that asset management plan.
Okay. Well, I'm going to echo the same comment as Conseiller Chris. I just find that, I know it's a great list, but, if we don't invest some monies in rehabilitating some sidewalks that do require rehabilitation, I wonder how we're going to be able to catch up with that. That's one thing. The Front Street curb lane, that's a project that's spread over 2 years, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to get the connecting link funding. That's the delegation that we had with the Minister of Transportation. And that would be strictly our 10% contribution. It seems slim, 50,000. I thought maybe it would have been a little bit higher.
So, yeah, under connecting links, we supply the 10%. So if we do get a full million, then obviously that number jumps to 100,000. But what we had discussed, if I'm not mistaken, is 500,000, and there's the 50,000.
Okay. And if we are successful in getting it, that means that if we get the funding for the connecting link and they subsidize the entire project, would it be wise to put the other amount in reserve for next year? Because I think it was a 2-phase project. Year one side, and then year 2 the other side.
Absolutely, but it's I don't have the crystal ball to know what exact funding we're going to get for connecting links.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
if
stuff it's a
okay, thank you. And I heard that for John Street, the comment pertaining that, I sort of heard that maybe it's a gamble, not knowing exactly what work could be required for water and sewer. Did I hear that correctly? That we're proceeding and doing the top surface without knowing exactly if we can have problems under the road.
Well, we can change the scope of work and do a complete reconstruct, but the number will likely go to $2 million. I mean, and if that's council's wish, we are a community. I don't think that is. It's not. We would go bankrupt if every time we surface the street.
I think. Just as a general philosophical thing, I think I would assume that Mr. Remillard and his team of people would not want to do work if they had a fairly comfortable assumption that things are going to go bad underground fairly soon. So when he says he's not replacing the underground, it's because he's made a determination that risk reward, he's willing to take the risk. And so.
No, the only reason I brought it up is
so
I thought I heard
if
the
it was
word
bad, he would fit.
No, it's just by itself.
There's always risk. No, there's always risk. You're right. The word gamble, yes.
But I'm getting
gamble, but yeah, there's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Sorry?
I just want to clarify to the CEO. I thought I heard the word gamble when it was presented. That's what I wrote down. That's why I was just asking if I didn't hear correctly. My apologies.
Yeah, you probably.
But I just wanted the assurance.
Oh, you did.
Sorry?
Yeah. And I'm getting at that. Yeah. I'm answering in addition to him.
Okay, that's great. And I guess I just wanted the reassurance that whatever we're going to be investing on, is because we feel comfortable that the risks are not going to be as high. That's the only assurance that I was looking for.
Yes.
Madam Chair, if you want to
So
pass
I'll
it
give
on
you
to
that
someone else.
reassurance.
Okay, do you have any other question, Madam Mayor?
I'm
I
sorry.
do, but
I'm sorry.
you can go on with other councillors.
Okay, Councillor Rowley, I'm going like that because I cannot see everybody, so, and then Councillor Revido.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We received an email a while back about receiving funding of the amount of 356,000 per year for 5 years, and that has to be directed toward extraction, either lumber or mining. There is a recommendation that was brought to me by local companies that would need some assistance with Public Works accessing Highway 17. That would be the road that I think now is called Goulart Road, and it used to be Golf Course Road. When they're on that gravel road, getting onto the highway, it's an incline and very, very dangerous. And it's fairly steep for a big truck when you're hauling 40 ton. So their request was to bring that road to raise it up. We probably would have to address also a driveway close to that intersection, whereas there's a trailer business there. But that's a request that comes from a local company that would like to have that address, because it's a safety concern. So maybe with those funds, since it's for extraction, that would be a good place to use a portion of it. Thank you.
But, okay, so now I'm mixed up because we have the budget in front of us, so what were you saying to add that to that? And
Well, that could be discussed at a later date. I'm very satisfied with what's presented tonight. It's just that I wanted to put that out there, that
maybe what you can do, Councillor Rowley, at later date, put a request to put an item on the agenda, and we can discuss it at that moment. So, and then I have, are you finished, Councillor Rowley? Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am also totally satisfied with what's being presented in front of us. And I'm assuming that Councillor Duhaime had some input in this because he's the chair of Public Works. And he probably totally agrees with what's on paper here. My question is that there's a couple of questions I have. First of all, the sidewalk analysis is going to be part of the asset management plan, and I'm aware of that. What was the when they went around throughout all the municipality, well, in our area of the municipality, and they started shaving edges and all that? That was done, I think, last year or the year before, Sean. Was that as a result of we didn't have an asset management sidewalk analysis, but what was that as a result of? That's one question. The second question is, we had talked about the John Street loop, and that was infrastructure underneath the ground and having a loop for the water and all that. How does that come into what you're doing on John Street? Madam Chair,
Yeah, well, I think I cannot answer that. Obviously, your question is directed to Monsieur Remial.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So for your first question, Councilor Revita, the company that came in town basically was a guy on a mountain bike, and he's got a cell phone, and he basically bikes every single sidewalk in our municipality and provides a small report. The intention with that kind of or that project was to address trip hazards, and hence why hence why we had I think it was over 370 some trip hazards were addressed through that project, and for a very minimal cost. So that was kind of we were kind of falling behind on sidewalks. So that bought us some time. Now, as Elisa indicated, these sidewalks will be part of our asset management plan. So I think we have, we have the RFP out. Let's wait until we get the 10-year plan. And then as long as we follow that plan, it should be smooth sailing for the next 10 years. Can you remind me your second question again, please?
It's the John Street loop where
Yes.
we were at funds
Street
from the
loop.
province and the feds.
Correct. So we're currently, we have retained Greer Galloway consulting firm. They are currently doing the design for all that work. And that's where I told you so King Street, actually all of King Street will be designed from Front Street to Ethel. And then we have Ethel from King to Nipissing. We have Main from Ethel to Market. We'll have Ethel from Nipissing to Church, and we have Nipissing from Ethel to Front Street. All complete, 100% reconstruct, water, sanitary, storm, new sidewalks, concrete barrier curb, parking, new fire hydrants, all that good stuff.
So that basically is a plan for to have in place if we get any other funding.
That's
ready to.
If I may add, the section of John Street between Holditch and the bridges, we are looking to address the road gradient, and there's currently no sanitary main and no water main. So that is a kind of a point of failure where we need to bring the water from the new loop from the King Street design up to the bridge to connect on to the 12-inch water main under the John Street Bridge.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mr. Jaime, you did not speak, so if you have wanted something, and then I'll go to Conseiller Denis and then Conseiller Rowley.
Okay, so in essence, I thought I was going to chair this part of the meeting because of Public Works, but unfortunately, that's okay. It didn't happen because I would.
Well, it's a general government
that
chairing the
opportunity.
budget, Monsieur.
I know, but I mean,
You can have it if you want
I would
to.
have loved to have the opportunity
It
of
seemed that tonight
presenting
that,
it with Sean to have my remarks. But in essence, yes, Sean and I did talk of some of these projects, and the one that really caught my eye certainly was the one on John Street with the sidewalk being erected there as well. And like Sean had mentioned, a lot of these projects are just carried over in the preparations for new projects for next year. I supported what was here, and I hope we could move on with this and get a lot of work done for this year. Thank you.
Conseiller Senecal,
Thank
you want to
Madam
chair? You want to chair the meeting?
No,
That
that's
what you
good.
wanna ask me?
I have enough of planning. And Mr. Lemieux, I see that you deferred the Trutsy Road. And I travel that road quite often. And as you're probably aware, that road that has absolutely or almost absolutely no ditches. It's a really mud bath when it rains. So my concern is how long will it be deferred for? It really needs, because that's a road that has a lot of traffic because of the camps, and there's a boat launch at the end, and there's more traffic than you would think, but you probably know that. I'm just wondering if we can make sure we get it done at least next year, if not this year. Or what's the criteria? What was the criteria to defer that one? I know there's lots of demand, but
Well, yeah. Just trying to basically present a budget that is acceptable and sustainable. There is a lot of roads that were deferred that really should be done this year. I can't agree more, Councillor Senecal. Unfortunately, I don't know that. I mean, it's in the end, it's a decision of council. I'll leave it at that. But if I may just add one comment, I apologize, Madam Mayor. I did say the word gamble. You're absolutely right. But Jay rephrased it. I shouldn't have used that word. I meant risk. I just want to fully disclose that when you do a resurfacing without a complete reconstruct, there's always that risk. But like I said, I did camera the sanitary main. The storm main is in good condition, and the water main has not been problematic in the last since I've been here. And in consulting with the manager of water and wastewater, Peter Ming, Peter is also in agreement, and our municipal engineer, Alan Carell, is also in agreement that the water is not a problem. So there has been some thought put to it, and so we all agreed that this was the way to proceed. So I hope that can explain, and I apologize for my
if I may, Madam Chair, you
Yes.
know, Mr. Damiel, no apology required. I was just clarifying, just to want to have the assurance that, and no doubt, but I just wanted to hear that those were looked into with the counterparts. And nothing worse when we have people that say, oh, look at how they spent the money and look at the problem that they have after. So I just wanted people to understand that all of that was looked into, and that's why it's being recommended. So no apology required, but thank you for the information.
Okay, so Conseiller Denis, you might finish if you want to.
It's just a comment. I guess I lost the floor, so I'll leave it at that. It's not important.
No, I
guess
you ha-
Stretchy Road doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. Anyways, go ahead.
So did you have your answer about Trottier Road?
As much as I need, I guess, yes.
Okay. Not sure now. Conseiller Rowley and then Conseiller Yvon. I see you Conseiller Yvon. Conseiller Rowley was waving before you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I remember a little while back, the request was brought forward from the Accessibility Committee on the bridges of those two bridges on John Street for those sidewalks. Just like to know how did that turn out? If you or have you had the chance, Mr. Ramial, to look at that situation?
I did question, sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I did question some of our consultants. The answers I got were not favorable. Therefore, I didn't provide a formal memo. I will definitely keep looking at it, but aside from reconstructing the bridge, there's nothing we can do for the sidewalks.
Okay, thank you.
Conseiller Yvon? Your mic is off.
Just a statement, when I did meet with Sean, we respected John Street. The same question that was asked from anyone else about the understructure was asked by me, and he had lightly gave me an explanation of the situation. And, being in this community for a long time, I realized that the work that had been done on John in the past, and you referred to the town engineer from before, I was quite satisfied with the answer I got from him. And again, if I had been chairman of the Public Works, I would have probably brought that up. So it's just, it was discussed at length with Sean. And my motto with Sean is dig once and that's it. And he knows that. So hopefully, and I'm sure I take his word for it, and the words from the others that the structure there is there. But it's not 100% guaranteed. We all know that. We buy a new car, we don't know if it's going to break down or anything. But anyway, I was quite satisfied with his answer, and it was very professional. And I thank Sean for that. Thank you.
And if I might just intervene and reply a little bit, Conseiller Yvon, you should not be shy if you feel that was your chair, but I was. No, but you mentioned it again. So obviously, but I mean, I think the budget is general government, so somebody should have put me in my place before you say it. So I just want to say I'm just doing what I thought I was supposed to do, and I think I'm doing it very good, by the
Yeah,
way.
you're doing a good
Oh,
job.
if-
So,
I can
then,
comment-
next, monsieur.
If I can comment on the structure, actually, the way it's being presented as an encapsulated budget, I believe it's fair for the Chair of General Government to lead the whole process. Thank you.
So where are we now? So any other question about the budget of the capital project of for public work?
Okay.
I for one also, I'm very pleased to see that Détrisac and Canel
Good.
will be brush and whatever, the ditches, something like that. I think it's well overdue. And I did talk also to Sean a couple of years ago about that, and I knew it was coming. So I'm very pleased that it's going to be done this year. As far as I'm concerned, I think I would have loved to see more sidewalk. There's going to be a study done in the region of that you mentioned a little bit earlier, like John or Maine, whatever. I don't remember exactly, but I would have loved to include a study because there's other sector in West Nipissing, but hopefully when all the study is done, because obviously most of the work, the big portion of the money is going on that side, which it's needed. So,
So what I've heard, as a person leading changes, if necessary, is that there's a general satisfaction with what is proposed here. What there have been some questions though about the ability to tweak it down the line or even add or depending. And if you wanted to add, it would affect your tax rate or your reserve dip. But what I'm hearing is that Mr. Remillard has the general consensus to at least do start moving forward with the preparation of getting these jobs done. And if there are any after changes, then that'll happen. Is that through you, Madam Chair? Is that how you would summarize it?
well, that's the way it seemed. I mean, there's few of us that are concerned and would have loved to add some of the thing. I mean, but I think, again, I'm going to ask if everybody's in agreement and support what's presented with the capital project to give Monsieur Remillard the go-ahead to start. Well, I don't think he would have stopped preparing the proposal in RFP, whatever you're calling it, but to start trying to get it out as soon as possible. Madam Mayor, you have a comment or a question?
She said.
Both.
Well, okay. Well, there
You
you
don't
go. Start,
mind.
pick and choose. Which
Okay.
one? Comment or question first?
Well, I'm going to ask the question pertaining to the catch basins in Cache Bay. That's what we're referring to, the $10,000. The catch basins that sometimes pop up from the road and that we need to lower. Do we know how many more that we need to fix in Cache Bay to resolve this issue?
Through you, Madam Chair, it seems like Cache Bay is kind of a recurring event. It seems like depending on the type of weather and frost depths, when we dig these up, we're pulling out clay. So I think it'll be kind of a long term. And if you remember a few years back, we said we would put Public Works would put 10,000, water and sewer are putting 10,000, and we're kind of working in conjunction with both because they are a water and sewer asset, the sanitary manhole, but unfortunately the road is a roads issue. So I think we seem to be gaining, but it's hard to give you an exact date, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Is it possible to know how many we can do with 10,000?
Usually 2 per year.
2 per year. Okay.
It depends on if we're going right down to the base of the manhole. Some of them are fairly deep, so then we definitely only do 2. If it's only the top section that needs to be reset, then we can do maybe 4 or 5.
Okay, thank you. Coming back to the comment of John Street, the loop. Okay. What's being proposed here for John does it have to do with the loop project pertaining to, not at all, eh?
No,
Okay.
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
So the loop is design work. This is actually construction work. And the proposal for John Street is from Nipissing to Coursol, which is the
Okay.
old, the loop project is what I cited a while ago to Councillor Revita.
Okay, so assuming, and if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes,
there's going to be, with the loop project, there's going to be underground work that's going to be needed, and then there's going to be surface work that's going to be needed. So there's probably going to be the need for Public Works to invest in that project. Would that be correct?
After we receive the design, yes, that'll have to come back to council to see how we want to phase it out, because we'll never, to do it all in 1 year will be impossible. So we'll have to phase it out.
The reason I bring it up is we had a delegation with the Minister of Infrastructure, and I believe the province has provided their contribution for this project. And when we met with the ministry, it was to seek the province help in advocating to the federal government to provide their fair share.
Yes.
Now, what we were told is when it's recommended by the province, 99.9% of the time, it's approved at the federal level. So that decision should be expected any time. So if we are approved for that project with the contribution of the province and the federal government, is it going to come back to the table? So we're going to have to rejig a little bit the budget for it? Because odds are that the project is being funded this year. We put in a request stating that we were told that the project, it would be a project that would be shovel ready to be done this year.
Or whenever they accepted it, yeah.
So let me see if I am on. Yeah, potentially we need to adjust mid-year different opportunities that come before us, but we cannot budget ahead of time and assume. At that point, if we have operational changes, we'll bring them forward to you.
Okay, but anyway, I'm just highlighting that because we can expect it. And my final comment is we do have a sidewalk analysis, even though we have the capital management, asset management plan, we still have that tool or that document pertaining to the sidewalks that we need to invest in. I fear that if we don't start putting money into the sidewalks that require mega repairs, it's going to bite us at one point, because I think that document stated how much money we had to invest every year to be able to get up to speed with those sidewalks. And right now,
Madam Mayor, if I can, maybe I'm wrong, I did not hear it right, but it will be incorporated. The plan that exists right now will be incorporated with the plan that they would be doing. And then after that, it will be for the next, it will be settled. All the plan will be put together. I understand, and we all have concern, but
no, I concur with what you're saying. I heard the same comment. What I just want to highlight is we do have an analysis that has been done, maybe going back to 10 years, but what we're not doing is we're not investing a certain amount of money per year to fix those sidewalks.
Yeah, your message was very clear. We all think, have concern about that. So what do you want to do? We can propose to put $100,000 in the budget for that. I don't know, but we all made concerns. So not too sure where to go with that. So we all have that concern, Madam Mayor. And I agree 100% that, I mean, we need to look at the sidewalk. It's a big problem. There's touch there and there's things that's been done. But I mean, anybody that walks in the city goes like the core and then go on Nipissing. Right now we have the Nipissing that it's a very nice sidewalk to do. But there's a lot of other places in West Nipissing that need to be looked. And then you go to Verner, the same thing. That's for sure. But I mean, at this point of time, what is the
If I may, Madam Chair, is the reason I'm bringing that up is because the deferred sidewalk projects for next year, we already have like over 400,000 earmarked probably for new sidewalks, but there's nothing that's being earmarked, even planned for next year as far as budget to be able to repair the sidewalks. I do know that that analysis listed many sidewalks in Burner that needed to be repaired. They're beyond, they're dangerous. It was a safety issue. But it's not addressed in the budget, but I'm putting it on record. And my final question is Ethel Street seems to be deferred every year. And I believe not this term, but the previous term, that road was earmarked to be done. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2018. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go back and check. I remember having residents call me for that road and they were asking when was their road earmarked to be done. And I gave them a date saying, well, this is what is being proposed according to a plan. Now we're going into 2022, but here again, Ethel is being pushed back. And we checked into that to see what's the plan for Ethel. So this way, if there's any inquiries, at least we can update people.
Okay, Sean, yeah, please.
Yeah. So as I stated to Councillor Revita, Ethel is currently for design. We have retained the consultant of Greer Galloway, and we will be reconstructing Ethel Street from King Street to Nipissing Street, and from Nipissing to Church Street. The other portion does not need design. So at the time, we can redo the entire Ethel Street.
Okay.
Thanks.
Can I just provide
Thanks
a
again.
suggestion through you, through the CEO, if I may, Madam Chair? Well, if there's any inquiries for specific roads and like, you know, like example, Ethel, is there a mechanism that we can convey that information to all members of council this way? It just avoids or eliminates the issue of having residents communicate with different members of council. And then what we do after, I get a question, I go to the CEO, another councillor has a question, goes to the CEO, and we might be questioning the same subject. Just a suggestion that it would be greatly appreciated.
I don't know what you're suggesting, Madam Mayor. Could you?
Well, I'm
repeat that?
suggesting that, I'm just reacting or maybe commenting pertaining to the information that it was identified. Some information was shared to a councillor about what's being proposed for Ethel, as an example.
I think it
I
was
get
shared.
inquiries for Ethel. I'm just saying it'd be great if there was a mechanism that it'd be shared to all, just to avoid
Yeah.
having
Okay.
different people not.
If you're talking general communication, I've taken the liberty of replying all now when you inquire, just to keep it on the, you know, on the level with everything. So yeah, but I'm not sure. I missed something. If one councillor was privy to some information on Ethel prior to, I thought that this was brought up tonight a few times. Did you bring? Let me just finish so I can clarify. I need to. So, Sean, you didn't talk to, like, this is tonight. This is tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Madam Mayor, with respect, it was mentioned 2-3 times today, but you've all gotten the information at the same time. So, okay.
I'm not talking about today. I'm just making a suggestion in the future. If there's
Well,
any
I think that we do that.
specific roads, it would just be
that. Yeah.
Okay, so is there any other question? Maybe we can come back. So I think it's duly noted. So Conseiller Fisher, yeah. And 9:30 is advancing, and so.
So I just have a sort of a general question because so I just looking at the other worksheet, the deferred roads and sidewalks. So basically deferred, and I look at that number. So that's $2.7 million estimate deferred, which is not that far off, it's only $700,000 what we're spending this year. So that sort of looks to me that comprises a huge portion of next year's budget. Now, there is some question of sort of asset replacement and falling behind and that kind of thing. Like if we're, I guess my question is, are we doing enough? Like it's nice to keep taxes low, but at the same time, are we like, are we gonna screw ourselves in the future? I guess is my question. Thank you.
If there's an answer there, it would be a strategic, philosophical answer. And what I would say is nobody is doing enough. So let's say you look at the province of Ontario, other than the high growth areas in the GTA and Eastern Ontario, things are aging and assessments are lower. And that's where the infrastructure deficit is. I mean, if anybody who drives to Toronto and goes through Vaughan, there's no infrastructure deficit. It's all brand new and they're paying a ton of taxes. So so Northern Ontario has a bigger problem. And so your ask as to whether we're putting enough into it. If you only looked at infrastructure deficit, absolutely not. And that's why people like Sean and Elisa are doing these long range planning, and they're trying to figure out what you can get to. It'll get to about $5-6 million a year. But the problem with that is that how do you pay for it? So if you want to go grab that and make your taxes absolutely unpayable, then you're going to have really nice infrastructure with nobody able to afford anything. We have to work with what's in Northern Ontario. So we strike a balance between what we absolutely need. I'm going to go back 15, 20 years and please a couple of people here with Mr. Marlowe was at this table and he would say, what do you want to be? We cannot be a Cadillac. We're going to have to be a Chev or a Vaux. And so that's what we do. And so we take the money we do. If we can increase Sean's amount that he can spend, the other thing that this budget also reflects, when we increase capital that much because you want to get a lot done, we also have to pull that off, and that's really tough. And so in Steph's budget that we'll probably get to some other time, we're looking at project management to ensure, because not just because we have Johnny doesn't mean he can manage the minutia of everybody doing a ton of work all over. So maybe some project management comes into play. So I'm answering this to Councillor Fisher specifically because he asks very finance type questions. There is a massive deficit. That's why Sean has to put things over. If you want to give us $5-6 million a year and increase your taxes, fine. But obviously that's not going to work either. And your taxpayers, so it's understanding what's going on and accepting it. Sorry for the speech. But there you have it.
Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap it up because I think everybody did their comment, and so I don't know what the next step is. Councillor Rowley, do you really have to say what you have to say?
Yes, Councillor, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we vote on what's presented, that we accept. It seems that pretty well everyone's in favor of it. We could add later on to it, but as a general, we vote on what's presented now, so Sean could move forward with it, and then we could tweak it later on.
If I may procedurally, you don't need a vote if I get consensus tonight to move on. That forms part of the budget, then that's fine.
Okay.
May I, because I did not spoke about it really, can I maybe suggest or a recommendation? And I think by the time I'll be finishing that, I forgot what I wanted to say. That's nice. Sorry.
Well, if you want to think about it, Madam Chair, may I?
Well, Madam, we're not going back all around again.
No, I don't plan to go back around.
No, not you, I'm saying around the table again of everybody, not you.
Okay. No, I just want to say, so what we're being asked, I just want to clarify, we're being asked to approve 3.539518 in capital road projects this evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to the building, we haven't dealt with that, but we also sort of know that over and above the 3539, we may have to increase that at a later date, pending on the loop project and pending on what the contribution of Public Works may be required. But that sound like a fair summary?
Elisa?
So, it's sort of the end of the evening here. I believe when we started the loop project and had the loop project, a proposal go in, that it was actually being handled under the water and sewer budget, or substantially under the water and sewer budget. And we do sometimes share some of that stuff back with Public Works, but it's also like I said, because it's driven by water and sewer, that it was a water and sewer project.
Okay. But in the event that there's anything that has to be tabulated or charged back to Public Works, that may happen or may not happen. Is that right?
You know, as a water and sewer project, it can be funded through the water and sewer reserves, and through water and sewer sources, yes.
So what we're being asked right now is to look at authorizing, approving projects for the value of 3,539,518.
That's what it is? Is that correct, that amount?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Dan had his hand up though, so just letting you know.
Okay, yeah, but like okay, Councillor Dan, anybody else after? Because it's.
No, Madam Chair, what I was going to propose, that we've got some momentum on in what we've been doing tonight. And I would just like to find out if we could schedule a meeting as soon as possible to move forward on this, because I think we've got a momentum. It's been going good. And what I'm recommending, that maybe what we should be doing is looking at a meeting next week, March 8th.
Well, it's.
No, but I'm just saying.
It is planned. I think we had said it was asked, the 2 date was proposed.
Yeah, but nobody confirmed that was the date we were going to do.
Oh, yes, I confirmed both date.
No, I don't. We all did.
Okay, Madam Chair, can we focus on?
Okay, now, we're talking about something else. Let's focus on finishing that tonight. So do we advise, do we go ahead for Public Work to start whatever, like preparing?
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may, Madam Chair, I want to say thank you to Mr. Demiad and the entire team for coming forward and to facilitating this process.
Thank you.
So can I just kind of?
Can I, yes, can I, Mr.
Well, you know, just trying to be chill here. Yeah, there was we didn't really focus on the 8th, but can we get back together on the 8th?
I had planned in my schedule on the 8th.
Oh, yeah, great. So I think I'm just confirming so that there isn't any last minute issues that we need to.
If I may, Madam Chair, I thought it was the assumption that we were scheduled to meet on the 8th at 6:30.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
It wasn't mine, but now that you think it is, that's great. That's one extra person.
Well, I had confirmed yes, and I thought.
Yeah, I know, but not
were
everybody.
told.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8 is anyone have a problem with the 8? We had I think we all have.
So we're all good? Good.
Okay, good. Anything else for tonight?
Good job. Good meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And
okay.
We'll see you.
Okay, do we need a resolution, I guess? So can I have somebody propose to Conseiller Dan and I'm trying Conseiller Leo? I guess everybody wants to go. Everybody is on. So where's Madame Clerk? I lost you again.
She's.
Okay. Well, because it's been moving around. People have been traveling tonight. So you got it, Madam Clerk?
I do. It is moved by Councillor Revita and seconded by Councillor Mallette. It resolved that bylaw number 2022-31 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality to confirm the proceedings of council at its budget meeting held on the 2nd of March 2022 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
All in favor? Carrie, good night. Bye-bye.
Moved by Councillor Revita and seconded by Councillor Manette. It resolved that the budget meeting of council held on March 2nd, 2022 be adjourned.
Great
Hey.
meeting. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Good meeting.